Sunday morning. Hello there, everybody. How are y'all doing today on this fabulous Friday? And boy, is it hot. Hotter than hell. Uh, and if it's that hot where you are, well, I just tell you, the good news is that, well, give it about another, I don't know, 10 weeks or so. Sun will have shifted far enough. But in the meantime, well, what can you do? Just sit back, relax, get a good tan, right? So, welcome everyone. Hello, Lauren. How are you doing, my dear? DC, what's up? Off the hook, Rick. Lucky Stone, how are you doing? Good to see you, Loretta. I saw Deborah and a couple of other folks in there as well. Just recognizing everyone in there. Shirley, good to see you. Lost in Space. Gelzar, good to see you as well. And yeah. Sorry about the time situation. I didn't do it. So I know there were a number of people who can't watch at this time, and so I apologize. Maybe I'll do one on sometime at, like 7 o'clock. Start the day with the naked philosopher. You know, makes your day be bare to all. Yeah, works out. Hey, speaking favor over us all. Gotta say it. Favor will turn a bad situation into a good situation. And then that favor works when you not even recognize it. And then you get to that state of consciousness where you say, nothing missing, nothing broken is a part of my reality. My existence exists within nothing missing, nothing broken. Mm-hmm. Walking on sunshine. Hey, El Capo, good to see you. And Mark, what's up, Danny? Good to see you. Dave, how are you? Cowboy, good to see you, brother. Cecilia. So, yeah, hotter than hell. Odd expression, isn't it? And it just goes to show you how easily all of us have been brainwashed. Because if hell is the opposite of heaven, then heaven is one fucking cold place. I mean, right? Right? I mean, it's the antithesis of, it's the opposite of. So if hell is hot, heaven has to be really cold. Makes sense. The God of heaven is a pretty cold son of a bitch, but anyway, it's like we can define hell. We've all had that instilled in us. I mean, brainwashed, we're indoctrinated. I mean, by the time you're 5 years old, you know what hell is about. Heaven, on the other hand, you don't know much shit about heaven. I mean, we know very little. And define heaven. How would you define heaven? Either in a religious or non-religious context. What is a heaven? And what is the purpose of a heaven? Is that where only the good people go? Well, if that's the case, that is one empty tomb. There would be like nobody there. I mean, that's a freaking story right out of the Twilight Zone. Yeah. And it was Rod Sterling. Never this Rod Serling that never existed. Well, it does here. And that whole Mandela effect is really adding on. I just recently read something, and I mean, the freaking list is going on. And if you've been around as long as I have and longer, you know exactly what's going on. But then again, getting back to what is the purpose of a heaven? What are you supposed to do in this heaven? What, are you just going to be a lazy son of a bitch and just sit around all day? What, and eat, you know, pom bombs, bonbons, or whatever, and play your little harp? I mean, what is the purpose of a heaven? I mean, you know what the purpose of hell is? Well, that's a place of damnation, punishment. Yeah. And we're going to get into that like even more. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Ella Kitty from New York. Greetings. Thank you for the comment over there on Rumble. Um, you know, Rumble's a good place. um, so get this. Paradise is not heaven, but hell is apparently in heaven. I mean, someone built it, someone created it, right? At least in the modern construct, which means that this God, this demiurge, this thing is still the God of heaven because it doesn't make sense. This show, by the way, Anunnaki, how hell is a part, is the hidden part of your consciousness. Both Abraham's son, there we go. Yeah, you see, bringing in the Abrahamic belief system. And I'm not saying anything against it, but again, there are different opinions and views other than the Abrahamic belief systems. I mean, the whole story of Abraham, let's just be honest. If you studied history, or at least the eschatology history, Abraham is a Samaritan. Hmm. Abraham and his family were the high priest and priestess of the moon goddess Inanna. In fact, they made a really good living out of selling all the charms, the emblems, the tricklets, everything you had to have. And yet, as a student of the Bible, I look back and say, well, all right, so Abraham then well, his name was Abram, right? Because father of many nations, uh, meant that Abram had to know who Enki and Inyel was. Of the pantheon of the gods of the Sumerians, they would have known who those two are specifically. It was never ambiguous. So the question is, so where was this God of Abraham? This God of the Bible? It's the God of hell too. So where was this Yahoo? Later became Yahweh, but we'll call him Yahoo right now. And it gets even stranger because you have to question then, what was this cat Abram doing? And what was he fleeing from? I mean, did he screw up? Did he offend the goddess? But anyway, so who is this God? Well, again, we have studied this in detail. We know that that God is a God of blood, of death, destruction. Yeah. And so we get into this. I love this. Hey, RF, how's you doing? Good to see you. Eccentric, hello. Good to see you as well. S. Lee, hitting the thumbs up. Thank you. Mr. Lee, we got to get you on. So this came about as a result of an email. And there is this person, as I wrote in the chat earlier, is in transition. But and I can dig it. I can dig exactly where one would come from. If you've been taught that there's only two choices here, one of no pain and one of pain, I mean, that's what it is. And as you're dying and about to leave your mortal body behind, you really start examining this. What do you really believe? And unfortunately, it's those things that we were taught so early in our lives that surface. And we find out that they're more alive than dead. So we're going to talk about, number one, the hell doesn't exist. Never has. I have shown you this. If you get this into your library, it's really good. It's one of the best books written because it explains exactly how hell is nothing more than a control mechanism. It limits you. And it unfortunately hell is taught to slaves. You see, a free soul, free spirit would have neither no unction to either be in heaven or hell, because the two seem to serve two directly opposed states of consciousness. But hell, when you're taught about hell, it immediately handcuffs you. You'll go through the rest of your life in this world basically handcuffed. It's like, the debate is with Louisiana now putting in the Ten Commandments. Hello, Mr. Floyd. How you doing? Consciously aware? How are you? Uh, Been a while. Yes, I agree. Where they're putting up the Ten Commandments. Now, there apparently is the debate was that it helps establish moral center in a person. No, it's really very ignorant, to be candid with you. Because A, you're a Gentile. You have no right even to put those words up anywhere. They're not your words. You're a Goem. You have no right to even speak those words. And you want to know why those words become a curse? Again, you got no right speaking them. But anyway, I digress. So it's like, okay. So this construct that we're taught, heaven, is basically, you know, all the years I studied the Bible, it was really never clear in exactly what you do in heaven. I mean, apparently this is where this throne is, and there's these 24 elders and these creatures, and, there's the angels. And basically, if you go with the story, it meant 1/3 of the heavens. By the way, that's more than the angels. There's other things in heaven or this creation that left. I mean, 1/3 up and left said, screw this. But other than that, I digress. What are you supposed to do? They say that you'll worship God forever, 24/7. Number one, why is there time? But seriously? I mean, I get this horror picture in my mind, the sci-fi thing, to where they're looking at the light, and it completely mesmerizes them. You become automaton. You have no free will. And then there's this place called hell, all invented by one man. We're going to get into that. So I'm going to talk about if hell exists, and if the creature Satan is who Satan is, there's no way in hell Satan would be in charge or want to be a part of hell. That's his idea. If you read the book of Isaiah, it is said that this is a creature of great pride. Well, I don't know about you, but if I really hate someone, I mean, and this apparently is a really, deep divide, then I'm going to do the exact opposite of what you want or think I'm going to do. Instead of hell, I'm going to make a paradise. So I put a few presentations up here just to kind of get into the spirit of things. So the illusion is, and what we've been taught, that hell is this lake of fire. You can go to the book of Revelation and it describes it, This is where the dragon and the blasphemer will be put in there for all eternity, and Satan is going to be in there, and apparently you're going to be in there. I'm going to be in there. We're all going to have a fucking good time. Drinks are on the house, but this is, apparently this is what this place is, which is in actual reality, they stole the idea that if this cat is really the god of this world, then hell would be paradise. It would be exactly the opposite of what you had in this life: pain, suffering, the mental, the spiritual anguish and the torment that's inflicted upon us. It would be the exact opposite. And so this is what we know about Satan. Now, according to church doctrine, because this is where Satan resides, in fact, if it wasn't for the church, Satan would really be nobody. But anyway, so you're taught even as a child, that's the boogeyman, that's the bad man. Satan is the enemy of God and humans, apparently. So this thing, it hates multidimensional beings, spiritual beings, carnal beings. It loves weenian beings, but I digress. So if you follow the story, so this Satan, who apparently can shapeshift into a reptilian, a serpent, tricked the woman. Never tricked the man. Tricked the woman. And it was the woman, according to the story, that then took whatever this, who knows the metaphor, but we'll say this fruit, and handed it to him and said, have a bite, baby. What a delight. What a night of earthly delights. And apparently the man was so gullible. I mean, that's what you'd have to think. But then this is the man who apparently named all the animals, named all the stars, named everything. But here he suddenly has this moment of, how shall we say, lack of fortitude, character. Now, I want to stop right here because this event really says something about this whole structure: heaven, hell, God, Satan. I bring to your attention, men and women, folks, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't Satan or Lucifer. They're not the same, but they never cursed the earth. How odd. But the God of heaven cursed first the woman, then curses the earth, and then put a curses on Adam, us. Meanwhile, the bad evil one that has hell, apparently prior to all this, because I think it's telling that maybe Lucifer, Satan, the devil, really knew the true character of this being. Otherwise, how could you have a rebellion in where everything is perfect? The only way that happens is that it wasn't perfect. And you think about it, 1/3. If you lost 1/3 of your management team, you'd be in deep shit. You lost 1/3 of your workforce, you're in deep trouble. So there had to be a compelling argument here with somebody. So the story then goes, and this is what I was taught, that this rebellion took place and they were without a home. It says that they were cast down to the earth, but here's the interesting thing about this. If you study it correctly, apparently there's a contract. Apparently, this contract was given to man, or Adam, however you want to take it. And this contract made man God of this realm, God of this world. And then apparently in this rebellion, where the woman tricked the man, I'd like to argue that in court because I think we would be able to show a clause that the actions of the man would not be held liable against the man in the fact that there was trickery and deception used in the obscurement of the document or the contract in this case. But I digress. So when that happened, then Satan became God over man. Satan became God of this world. Satan became God of this realm. Pretty big freaking prize to me, if you ask me. I mean, world, realm, the whole bit. And then on top of that, apparently this Satan now rules in a terrible place called hell. And I can't really figure out how a creature who was apparently in heaven, where there was perfection, then takes the reins of this realm and this world. Why would it go to hell? You know, be in the penthouse of the aria. You would be over in Abu Dhabi, you know. But anyway, so he's got this terrible place called hell. And then this Satan hates God so much he wants all human souls. But isn't it odd in that argument that that's what this God wants as well? So Satan hates everybody. If you believe the story, he would hate himself. But a creature of pride would never hate themselves. They would be probably the epitome of a narcissist, but an Adonis. So the souls, and the thing about it is that so God is going to reject some souls because he's a murderous son of a bitch. I mean, it's not my words, it's his. And so this prideful creature named Satan is somehow forced to accept all these rejects that God is kicking out. Logical mind would say, well, why would he do that? Why would he even consider that? I mean, something going on here. Because they're saying the same thing. And then the bitch about this whole thing is that here we are. They're always fucking with us. And they seem to want something that they don't possess, which is a soul. And if it ain't one damn thing where they're trying to enslave us, the other thing is they're going to try to, screw us. I mean, talk about feeding off the loosh. It further gets into a little bit more complicated when you begin to look at the fact that this would be an inside job. I mean, this is a cartel. This is a syndicate. They're all working for the same here. Because if souls are so valuable, then why would this God who created the souls want to destroy a soul? Then you get into the whole definition of that. My soul is busy. There you go, Mr. Floyd. I love it. Can't have it, Hello, Goddess. How are you doing? I thought God's supposed to forgive 70 times 7. Yeah. Well, it gets even more complicated than that, Goddess. You think about it. If you look at 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8, that is the description of perfect love. I mean, the one thing about the ancient Greek language is that it had a way of throwing out any ambiguity, where the English language is just a gutter language. It's a trash language because it's sloppy. But the Greeks, in this agape love, not the eus, But this agape love is supposed to be unconditional. No conditions. I love you unconditionally. I challenge anybody to tell me where this Christian God come from. So getting back to hell, don't we just love hell? God's an asshole, so is Satan. It's like seeing inner fire. uh Red Honey, I mean, I couldn't have said it any better than I mean, that's perfect. I mean, seriously. And the Vatican, they really push this whole Satan thing. It's not Lucifer so much. And when you're really truly aware, they can't bring that bullshit on you. You turn it right back on them and say, exactly, where is Satan in the Bible? And tell me where Lucifer is. And then they'll go to Isaiah, on the book of Isaiah 14 on that, and says, see, there's Lucifer right there. But then you would know that, well, that's bullshit, because that was inserted by Jerome, who apparently really didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He was a lazy son of a bitch, because he spent 3 years in the caves in Caesarea. Someone had to be feeding his ass. Someone had to be wiping his ass. There's this cartel in Rome that were doing it. And so he apparently was channeling God, and God said, you ought to put Lucifer in there. And the problem was it's taken completely out of context. It was actually the prophet Isaiah that was talking to the king of Syria. And it's what this king had to say to the king of Israel. But no, we got to put it in the term of Lucifer, because now we have context. Damn it, Steiger, you're taking away all the fun. And thus the story goes. And so you look at this Satan thing. So the Vatican says that this Pope, in fact, they're excommunicating one of their cardinals, because he will not take back his statement that this Pope is Satan, that this Pope is the Antichrist, that this is a servant of Satan, the current Pope. And you can look in the articles, they date back, many of them date back quite a few decades. They got this thing that says that Satan walks the halls of the Vatican. Me don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So y'all remember when I did this, and to the individual, this will help you. So I did this one called The Greatest Lie Ever Told. Beware of the half-truth. You may have gotten hold of the wrong half. So, love the Matrix. And in the set Matrix, we meet the architect. And if you listen to that dialogue, go back and listen to that particular dialogue between Neo and the architect. And the architect says that, well, listen, we tried to make it perfect for you. You just ended up fucking it up. In fact, we didn't make it perfect for you once. We made it perfect for you a number of times. But you always fucked it up. And the architect said to Neo, he says, humanity, you're only happy when you're miserable. And it has to be hard for you. Otherwise, you completely self-destruct. Humans cannot exist without pain, suffering, working, laboring. But then the question comes, who is the architect of this reality? Because we know that this reality ain't what it says. And in the theme of this thing, you found out the thing is that there apparently, in the multiverse of which we're immersed in, there are many of us. There's an unlimited number of me's that can be thought of, each living their own lives, each of them generating their own memories, but somehow or another, we're all interconnected. We see it in our personalities. You'll see it in a person who you've known, and then you come in and they have, let's say they're very jovial, happy-go-lucky, and then you see them the next day and they're very sullen, melancholy. You would say, well, this is not the normal you. So, as Morpheus says, I'm trying to free your mind, Neo, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. Which pill? You take the blue pill, the story ends. This is where most people are still at. It's a bitch to wake up. I just gotta tell you, it fucking sucks. Just straight up. It's chaotic. It's tumultuous. It's not a pleasant experience. The dark soul of the night really sucks. That's all I got to say. And you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. But if you take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland. And he'll show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. And we know it goes deep. So do you stay asleep or wake up? We know that. So the foundation of reality is predicted upon what we are told is real. This begins almost immediately in life, and it is the core image of self. To shatter the core, the self cannot survive. R. Wayne Steiger. That was the other guy that also invented this saying, ignorance is a self-inflicted disease easily cured by knowledge. So I went through, said what a lie is: a false statement made with deliberate intent to deceive, an intentional untruth, a falsehood. Something intended or serving to convey a false impression, imposter, an inaccurate or false statement. The charge or accusation of telling a lie. This other one I thought was really interesting as well. To speak falsely, to utter untruth knowingly as with intent to deceive. Then you get into what deceive means. It means to be misled by a false appearance or statements, deluded, to be unfaithful. I like the archaic one that says to while away. Wow. The United States, it was against the law after World War II for the United States to engage in propaganda, which is a lie. But during the Obama administration, under the House leadership of Nancy Pelosi, they snuck that and made it no longer the law. Ever since then, the government spends tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions, in propaganda. Yeah, we could get really into that. To mislead or falsely persuade others, to practice deceit. Talked about an imposter, how that becomes a tyrant. Tyrant is a sovereign or other ruler who uses power oppressively or unjustly. We're told this is what Satan does. However, I have challenged people, and I'll continue to challenge me. Show me where Lucifer or Satan ever killed one human, ever commanded a human to worship it. Doesn't exist. Usurper, to seize and hold a position, office, power. Kind of like what we have right now here in the United States, by force or without legal right. Because if you follow the story, what I talked about at the beginning of this thing, that apparently Adam had this contract. Now, apparently it had a limitation on it. It had an expiration date, but nevertheless, it made him God of this world, of this realm. I often wonder if it was the other way around. It wasn't Lucifer or Satan who was wanting that contract, but it was this one calling itself God. It is said that was why God had to wait till Abram in order to make a covenant with a human in order that would allow him legally to come in. Any of you legal scholars like to debate that one? To use without authority or right, employ wrongfully, to commit forcibly or illegally seizure of an office, power, or godship. To seize, take over, or appropriate land, a throne, without authority. The only one I read in the Bible that has a throne is this guy saying that he is the only one. A jealous, angry, wrathful, vengeful God, nevertheless. And then I get into the whole thing about the Jesus story. The Jesus story was made up, goes back nearly 3,000 years ago. But here's the thing we always get. The real biblical Satan is not at all what you think. Now remember, all of these images, these were created with Dante. Dante's paintings, which I think the guy was seriously on mushrooms, this was his personal interpretation. He had his heart broken, His chick was balling another guy. Truth be known. So we get these horrific images. And the church, hell, even the Satanists have used this whole created false image and illusion. None of this shit is real. But yet it's pounded in every pulpit, and it's, whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Talmud, whether it is the Bible, it's all pounded. Who would want to fucking serve a God like this? There's no basis in reality. None. Human invented, human construed. So this is the God, this is the creature that convinced 1/3 of the heavens to follow him. Sure. These are delusions of a madman. It was a mind of insanity. Seriously, think about where your head has to be. These people died miserable sons of bitches. Because this is just messed up. But yet it's so representative of what their time and their era was. It was the Dark Ages. Wars, famines, diseases. It sucked. No one could read. No one could write. Because your ass was out working. And it was the educated, it was the elite that enslaved the ones who couldn't. But all of these, it's an illusion. Again, created by man. No foundation of reality. It's designed to enslave your mind. So Satan is defeated. Really? That's what we're told. But yet, we can't define Satan. Now, if you read what was written, apparently, and I think it's in the book of Ezekiel, it says that this creature, when it spoke as though there were 10,000 legions of angels singing. It said that its bones were made of the purest wrought gold, and that it wore a breastplate of precious stones of great power. It said that this being was the only being that could stand in the midst of the fire, the God stones of this thing that's known as God. No other creation, no other being could do that. It stood in the middle of the fire stones of the Godhead, I mean, that to me just invokes some really weird stuff. Now, this is where these stories came from. And it's amazing how they still impact us today. And as I wrote here, hell, really? Based on what? So these started around 400 AD. It was the beginning of the Dark Ages. And it had over 1,000 years to permeate the land. Well, after a couple of centuries of this, you typically will have everyone indoctrinated. So no one knows if it's Satan, if it's Lucifer, if it's the devil, but we got the demons, we got the angels. Oh, that's right, the angels are the demons. But the early Christians said, we are the angels. They say we are the third of the heaven. We, you, me. That we're in this cycle, that we're not even aware of it, or the other thought says that we're very much aware of it, but we can't get free. And if that's the case, then that would mean that Satan and or Lucifer is seeking to be free as well. The serpent. But yet, this is all man-made up, but you look at even at Baphomet. The Knights Templar, this was its, image. This was their guy. That's why I'm saying if you got the 10 Commandments, then you need to put Baphomet right up there next to him. Because apparently it's Satan is the only one who follows the 10 Commandments. But he gets blamed for the one breaking them all. Kind of like, what you see where the Democrats said, well, if this guy gets into power, democracy is dead. But they're the ones who are really assaulting democracy. So which one's Satan? Which one's God? So let's ask a few questions. Why is the Satan of the Old Testament different from the New Testament? You see, the Satan of the Old Testament was a small s. That's my mistake. It should have been the small s because he didn't get promoted to the office until it was in the New Testament. Must be doing something right. I wonder if he got a pay raise along with that. And if you look into this, show me where Satan ever attacked Israel. Where does it say any angel worshiped Satan? How could Satan stand before God? It says that no sin can stand before this God, this living whatever it is. Is it trying to say that Satan doesn't have any sin? Why no recording of any Satan worship in the Old Testament? Where is it written Satan was taking over the world? Why no other cultures worshiping Satan? Ain't that special? You think he may be made up? Where is it written in the Bible that Satan or Lucifer ever commanded or ordered a human being to kill or murder another human being? Not in there. How could Satan / Lucifer be a god and create anything? How did Satan go from a no player in the Old Testament times to become a world player ruling the planet? How could Lucifer be stripped of all power by Christ and yet still be more powerful than all the angels? Why is it that the Catholics pray to Lucifer and in their Luciferian prayer, they say that Lucifer is the light and that Jesus Christ is his son? Others believe, like in the Mormon church, that believe that Lucifer and Christ are brothers. Again, where did Satan become Lucifer and when? It's all a lie. And as I went through this, again, all of this, it's designed to make you afraid. All of it. It will forever sees your consciousness. It will limit your consciousness. It will limit your ability for rational cognitive thought. It's all designed to manipulate us. It's like two teenagers learning about sex for the first time. You know, they're just doing exactly what animals do. But yet, society and culture will say that that's wrong. It's messed up. All of this we made up. All of it. None of it exists. None of it is real. We did this. It's ignorance all the way through. And again, it's a bitch to get yourself free of it, but it is the greatest deception that's out there. If I tell you, wake up, they want you to create this for yourself, my friend. When you make that final transition, whatever is left within here in your thoughts, if you're not leaving with the gratitude, with the consciousness of thanksgiving, and it doesn't have to be to any God or specific God, it'll usher you in to the other side. But you don't want to have to wake up to this. It will eventually fade out because there's no basis in reality. But why do that? There's no foundation. Lucifer doesn't exist. Neither does this being. Again, if Satan did exist, his kingdom would be paradise. It would have the latest technology. I mean, I can't think of why it would be in what one man's mind is now, people say, is the reality of everything. It says that Satan even taught the church. Well, I guess he may have it. We know it was deliberately for the attempt to enslave all the races, us. Remember, it was this God of the Bible who said he created the Jews as his own race. That's a racist. That's the epitome of a racist. So you created all the humans, but you realized you fucked that up. And so now you're going to play genetic scientist and you're going to take a Samaritan and you're going to bring him into this other land. And as he had sex with his sister, Sarah, Sarai, but from them, you get this Isaac, but yet it was actually Ishmael who was truly the firstborn son. But then this God comes in and says, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to break my promise here, but I'll tell you what, your son, he told this to Haggai, who was Abraham's concubine, you know, his action on the side. Apparently he was getting more action from his concubine than he was getting from Sarah, but spread inside stories. But so he tells Ishmael, he says, well, you're going to be Lord over all the oil. But Isaac over here, you know, he gets the grand prize here because he's going to be a patriarch to a whole new race. Now, I wonder if Satan would have done that, what we would be having going on. What would happen if Lucifer decided that it wanted to create its own out of the human? I don't quite get it. And again, the church elevated Satan to a place that this creature never had to begin with. The church created this perverted reality. It has only brought forth death. It was designed to do this. And as I bring in, there's a whole different story. The story of Herodias, Osiris, and Dionysus. That's where Jesus came from. This God wasn't even original enough to make up the whole story his own. No, had to go and borrow it from other gods. Well, he can't be outdone, you know that. But this is what happened. And it's the Jesus story, the Virgin Mary, all over, even to where they kill him. But, look at all of them. Born of a virgin, Buddha, Krishna, Matthäus, Genghis Khan, Ra, Romulus, Dionysus, Zoster. So it just goes on and on and on. Here's the resurrection, 3 days. Anyway, I get into the story about we know about Gnosis, but what I really I love this one. So this is a history of religion. They come in. It's kind of like the Inuit when the Baptists send up their missionaries up into the Arctic Circle, and they were telling them about hell, and they couldn't figure out why the Eskimos wanted to go to hell. Because you see, this cat was telling them that this was fire, it's hot, and they're like, hey, sign us up, Jack. So anyway, I like this one. Accusing a pagan of worshiping Satan is like accusing an atheist of worshiping God. And so I get into the whole pagan thing. The whole point to all this, as we get into this, is that if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes not just truth, a religion, and then politics. My religion is humanity. So there's more to that because it was a very long presentation. But there it is in a nutshell. And and if you're taught never to question, to accept what your elders teach, what those that are in the pulpit who have been ordained by God to preach the word of God, that gives the rhema, of the Logos. Really? I think I have an issue with that because, again, and the thing about it is, it's almost like they've deliberately made this character, Satan, Lucifer, demons, and all this on purpose. It's a distraction. It's a delusion and an illusion, because if you look beyond that, they may be more magnificent than what you can even grasp. If this battle is a metaphor, an allegory, or actually happened or is happening, then there's obviously two competing thought beings here. And all I can tell you, folks, from my life, this God of the Bible, this Jesus, and I used to believe in them, worship them, are not who they say they are. They're evil. They're death. And that which has been blamed for all the evil, all the ills of mankind, of God, and the world itself is this lonely little creature that they can't figure out if it's Satan, which really means the accuser. It's all Satan means. Or if this thing is really another God. But it's always them saying it. I contend to this day, I still have not read anything that I think is authentic coming from a Satan or a Lucifer. And I know something about innocence. Innocence doesn't need a defense. You can make all the accusations you want, hurl all the insults, tell all the lies, but I never hear a word. Now, for me, this is just me, I question that. Because all I ever hear is the radical, the rhetoric, the saber rattling. Well, you got to worship Allah, or you're going to get your head chopped off. This is, going to be, caliphate. Or if you don't believe this Jewish God, then you're going to be sent to hell, or the Christian God. He's going to punish you for all eternity. What the fuck? And I never hear anything from the one that's the baddest. Never. Oh, we've read the book. We've read the Luciferian Bible. We've read the Satan Bible. I mean, okay. I don't find much difference between that and the Bible itself. Okay. But in my spirit walks, the only thing that I see of fear is this other God because it promotes fear. It feeds off of it. So there you go. That's the story. I'm sticking to it. um, so I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope the individual, happy transitioning. May your journey be filled with favor on the other side. May favor be there to greet you and welcome it as a new adventure. It's going to be a little different, but that's all right. Once you get your sea legs, so to speak, you're going to do just fine. And I don't believe that it's the end of the line. It may be on this journey, but this heaven or hell, no. You don't need to choose one or the other. There's another option, and that's yours. So there. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. I mean, I think this is the love for humanity. If we can remove this fear, if we could begin to see what really is, we could change this. But I got a sense that this jealous, how can you have a God that's jealous? You women know this. If you've ever had men that you've dated that were jealous, not and then there's women as well, but many women experience because guys, they just go fucking batshit crazy, and a jealous person you can't live with them. There's nothing you can do. You're kind of like the Satan being accused by the jealous one who's God and Jesus, who's accusing you. Well, who did you talk to? What was that? And it makes it a living hell. That's jealousy. And then the church will try to say, well, there is a righteous jealousy. Bullshit. Quit with the fucking games. If you got an asshole who is jealous, that's going to be a jealous asshole that you don't want to be around. Just saying. Gratitude level education, and it's all free. There we go. All is the devil, as someone said. I think in excess had it best, We're all the devil inside. Doomed. I love that song, by the way. Just a strong bass as it comes in. You all can hear it now, right? Hey, cowboy, right back at you. Hey, Jackie, good to see you. We are prospering. Scott, good to see you as well. It's about time someone talks this shit. Yeah, I put this shit in that, but yeah, it's true. And hey, listen, if you want to challenge me on it, love the debate. You're going to lose, but hey, Nina, how you doing, darling? That's all I can say. But because in our reality, there isn't this dualism. No. Mm-mm. Someone asked me once, they said, well, what if you're wrong? So what? I've been wrong before. Someone wrote me, these back in years, I just remember, how could you just give away your salvation? I said, I didn't give away anything. If anything, I retained my salvation. No savior is going to save you. No savior is going to save humanity. How are they going to do that? I asked my Christian friends, so to be born again, and to believe the story that when you die that you're going to pass through the fire according to Paul, and then what's left after all the hay, wood, and stubble is burned off, then that's what you're going to have, right? But let me say something. I'm as perfectly imperfect in my creation as I can be. I'm not what God is because I'm not that God. I'm not what an angel is because I'm not that angel. I'm me. And creation created me. What the fuck? That's as perfect as you can get. Do I make mistakes? That's the whole point. I get to learn. I'll learn after this life and then after that life. But I've learned just to love myself for who and what I am. And I'm speaking to someone right now. If you can just learn to love yourself, you put yourself down so often because you're trying to live to an image of something or someone else. It won't work, sweetie. It won't work. It's when you begin to look inside and love that person. And it's not that you're imperfect. Again, you're as perfect as imperfect as you can be. There's only one of you. Love that person. That's you. All right? Okay. So, weak people will always run back to religion. And it's true. It's because, Nina, as you and I both know, that's all they got. Yeah. Well, folks, I love you. Love you a lot. I'm just trying to be you. Don't, no, 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 no. Be your wonderful, beautiful self. It's like this. I couldn't wear your shoe. It would be very uncomfortable. So wear them yourself and do much at it. Danny, right back at you. Rebecca, good to see you. Uh, Everyone, much love to you all. Lady Ellie, good to see you, darling. Uh, and Mr. Floyd says, you are the love you are looking for. Bingo. That's exactly it. And that's the greatest truth I know of. And man, you have to go through heaven and hell to figure it out, right? But you come out and you go, hallelujah. All right, folks, have yourself yeah, I guess it's the full moon this weekend, isn't it? Hey, Steve, how you doing, brother? So, hey, it may be hot, but guess what? Winter will be here in 6 months. So we hope. And yeah, love yourself, embrace yourself. It's all right. And yeah, we'll all smile. Hey, flight risk. Everyone says, have an amazing weekend. All right, folks. So, yeah, Mr. Floyd, that's true. Years in the dark night of the soul. Yeah. But boy, we came out, didn't we? We met as a group. That's hope. All right.